We're here. Yay. So I am excited to introduce Natalie. And I just want to really quickly preface that the first time I ever met Natalie was I think it was in an event at a Fem Talk event. And her energy just drew me to her. She's so magnetic. And she led us in this dance, which was just amazing. But anyways, I am really inspired by her and how she presents herself in the world and all the amazing things she does for women. And she is actually a massage therapist, and she specializes in Maya Abdominal Massage and deep tissue massage for the back, as well as she's a transformational breath coach. And I love breath work and a conscious dance facilitator. But the focus of her work is to help people connect more fully with their bodies so they can understand our body's messages in order to be their own best advocates for their health. And I would love it, Natalie, if you would just, tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you to this work.
Perfect.
All right, so we got it working. Thank you, everyone.
Fabulous.
So yes, if you would just tell us a little bit about, what kind of led you to this work.
Oh gosh. Well, interestingly, I became a massage therapist back in 1998, and I never equated it never occurred to me that there was a massage technique that would actually help with periods and things like that. Gratefully, while I was in massage school, I started tinkering around with essential oils and everything, and found some oils that were helpful, but there really wasn't. We just didn't get guidance about what's going on with our cycles and what our bodies might be telling us. It was only when I had an ovarian cyst burst on me, and I got absolutely fed up with the last doctor telling me, well, you had this ovarian cyst, it burst, stuff like this happens, move on. And I just didn't appreciate the cavalier attitude. So I started doing some research to see if there was something else out there that could give me answers as to why this ovarian cyst occurred, why it burst, and how I could avoid it happening again. And it just so happens that I attended a lotion making class at a local herb shop, and the woman who owned the shop and was teaching the class made an announcement that she was going to be taking women down to Belize to work with Dr. Rosita Arvigo. And the purpose of this class was to teach people how to do Maya Abdominal Massage. I really wasn't interested until she mentioned ovarian cysts. And the minute she said that, I was like, where do I sign up? And when, interestingly enough, also, when I started talking to people about what I had experienced with my cyst bursting on me, I mean, literally, I was downtown with a friend. I walked into a restaurant, had a great dinner with her, and literally crawled out of the restaurant because it happened that quickly and it was that painful, and it lasted for several days afterwards. The pain, and when I was telling clients about what was going on for me and everything, they started sharing issues that they were having with their periods, and I was just thinking, this is ridiculous. Why all of these women are having issues, and we're all being told the same thing, which is, no big deal. This is part of being a woman. Sucks to be you, for the most part. And so that's what brought me to the work. And what kept me in the work, or at least the way it expanded for me, was a few years later, as I was trying to get pregnant. This was a really serious piece of what I was doing to take care of myself, just so I could get my uterus healthy enough to carry a baby.
Yeah. I know. I mean, my sister actually just had an ovarian cyst burst not too long ago, and she was actually in the hospital for a couple of days. So
Yeah.
I don't think people realize. Thankfully, I've not experienced it, but I mean, I how painful and truly like debilitating it can be.
Hmm. There are, yeah, women suffer seriously from them. You know, there are some women who actually die. You know, I've got a friend who, the first time I had ever heard of an ovarian cyst bursting was a friend of mine in college, where it happened to her, and she got rushed to the hospital and required surgery.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so it's a big deal. It could be a big deal, and it's something not to be taken lightly. But the beautiful part is that if you do find that you do have a cyst, there are ways in which you can treat the cyst before it bursts, so that so you can treat the cyst so that it actually dissipates, and that's what this work helps to do.
Yeah, that's amazing and so needed.
Yes. Oh my God. Absolutely, it is.
Well, I'd love, if you would
Yeah.
kind of maybe speak a little bit more to that, because I think, like you mentioned before, when we have painful periods or when we suffer from abdominal pain and things like that, a lot of the time you do maybe go to the doctor or whatever. They're like, yeah, too bad, that's just part of being a woman. But that doesn't have to be that way.
Hmm.
And so would you speak to a little more to that if you don't mind?
Sure, absolutely. Well, the thing is that the way Western medicine handles it is by handing you telling you to go get you some ibuprofen. In my day, it was Midol, or one of the things they do now is also put women on birth control. Whether it be the pill or an IUD as well. That's one of the things that they also do. Um, and there are other alternatives. If you understand what's creating the problem to begin with, then you can address it. A lot of women suffer from everything from PMS symptoms, with the mood shifts,
Mhm.
with the crying at the drop of the hat, you know, with the weird cravings,
Mhm.
even the cramping that exists. All of those are actually things that can be treated through this technique, through Maya Abdominal Massage. Women who are dealing with fibroids, you can actually treat them before they get outrageously big, through this protocol. Endometriosis, as I said, cysts, polyps, all of these things can be treated effectively by using this protocol. And it's actually a simple protocol that you can implement.
Yeah. And I'm sure,
Yeah.
and I'm sure in your time of like working with so many women, what would you say, would be the number one reason that people, I know there's a lot of these issues that they're facing, obviously, with their
Mhm.
pelvic health and this, that, and the other. But what would you say is kind of one of the most number one reasons people come to you for help in this area?
Interestingly, a lot of women come to me. The biggest group of people who come to me are women who, well, actually, no. Let me take a step back. I'd say 50% of the clients that come to me are women who are trying to get pregnant.
Okay.
And they've tried a lot of different protocols, and they're getting frustrated. And the beautiful part of, I think the reason why they do come to me also is because I've been there. I know what it's like to struggle. It took, I went through the whole process for 5 years, and it can be a really challenging, lonely process to go through, and one that's very frustrating. The other group that I see are women who are just having issues with their periods, and they're looking for some alternative, because the alternatives that they've been using just aren't working for them. I had one woman who came to see me who was actually younger than me. I'm in my late 40s. She was younger than me. She came to see me as a last alternative before going in for a hysterectomy. which is absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then there are some women who come to see me because they've heard that this work helps, and they're just trying to get a little relief. And then all of a sudden it changes their entire worlds because it actually makes them appreciate their periods all over again.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I love how you talk about that too, you know, and like being able to appreciate your period and like just learning to listen to your body in general. Because I think, at least I know for myself, that's something that took me a long time to kind of realize, like, what even does my body have to say and how do I tune into it?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, isn't it funny? We're taught. I mean, I don't know of all of the, if you experienced this when, in your younger day or whatever, or even maybe even now. But I remember, I remember when I was living with a bunch of women in college, whoever was the crabbiest and then started their periods first was the alpha female. There's a lot of negative connotations, and a lot of mocking that goes into addressing when women are dealing with PMS symptoms and things like that. But this is a very real issue that women experience, that they really don't understand why it's happening, and I think once you understand, okay, if I'm experiencing PMS, if I'm having a period and the blood is like dark and thick and kind of mucky at the beginning or at the end, or if I'm experiencing extreme cramps, that may very well be an indication that my uterus is tipped. There's a laundry list of symptoms that a person can have that acts as an indication of of the fact that there may actually be a tipped uterus involved. I just had a client who came to see me last week who didn't realize, again, much younger than me. And she was urinating frequently. She thought it was normal. And it turns out, after I was working on her, well, your uterus is sitting on your bladder. That's why you're urinating frequently. And I was able to get the uterus to move a bit, and we'll see how that affects her needing to pee all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one thing too, to just for the people that are watching that may have no clue what Maya Abdominal Massage is, could you just give a quick, explanation of what that is? I know you talked a little bit about it in the beginning, but just to maybe a little bit more deeply on how it really can help in these areas.
Yeah.
The uterus, just a little bit. I just think it's so fascinating, and I feel like I wish I had known about it years ago. It was,
Yeah. Well, you know what? If you've got a uterus, whether it's still producing or not, it's helpful. Any stage in life you're at. I mean, seriously, it's very, very helpful. So this is what Maya Abdominal Massage is. It's actually a massage for it's a massage for your lower abdomen. When I work with clients, I focus on 4 areas. I focus on the back muscles, the psoas and iliacus, which you can only access from the front. And then I work directly on the uterus itself. And the cool thing is that you can actually feel the uterus from the outside. And so I can figure out, or I can feel where the uterus is located, and then do some work around the uterus and directly on the uterus that will help to bring it back into a homeostatic position. And then I work the upper abdominals, because if the upper abdominals are tight, it's going to affect blood flow, oxygen, and all of that. It's going to inhibit its ability to get down into the pelvis. And then I turn the client over and I work on their lower backs and around their pelvis as well, because if those muscles are tight, it's necessarily going to impact what's going on the inside of the uterus as well. And so in a nutshell, that's that is the protocol of working on the uterus and what the Maya Abdominal Massage is about.
Yeah. Well, it seems, I think too, what I found so fascinating and what I'm sure many women discover when you start kind of paying more attention to your body is that we do hold so much in that area, like so much tension, just so much stress, so much, muscle memory of whatever kind of maybe traumatic events, or just, we just hold on to so much. So I'm sure you probably experience a lot of, healing with your clients doing this type of work. And what I love also is that you are, do so much breath work as well with your clients. And I would love if you would touch on that a little bit too, because I think those are both such powerful techniques, and for healing, working, using them together is just such a brilliant tool,
Well, thank you. Yeah. Everything that I offer, I experienced myself. Those were the way. Yeah, heal thyself. So, yeah, and so that the way I was introduced to the breath work, and well, let me back up and say, the thing that I find so fascinating, and this is the reason why I have been drawn to just work primarily on the belly and the back, is because you've got this area, this is where the three lower chakras are. You've got the base chakra, you've got the sacral chakra, and then you've got the solar plexus. And unless you're able to ground and be balanced in those areas, it's going to be hard for you to be more expansive and to connect in other ways. And I think a lot of times, especially, as you say, with trauma, and then also if you're dealing with horrendous periods and things like that, people come to resent what their bodies are doing. And so when I do this work, and then also when I do the breath work, I really want to focus on helping to open those areas so people can be more connected to where they are in the present moment. When I do the breath work, what I love about the breath work is, and this is transformational breath work. What I love about it is that there is an active breathing process, and what it does is it allows me to feel my breath, and really help direct my breath all the way down to the perineum and all the way up to my throat, because that is how we are built to breathe. And about 80% of us breathe at only 25 to 30% of our actual lung capacity. For some of us, it's even less than that. And when we aren't breathing properly, and when we aren't breathing fully, it's affecting how we, it's affecting our lymph movement. It's affecting our immune system. It's affecting our stress level. It's affecting our mental focus. It's even affecting us emotionally, and how easily we're able to connect with ourselves and other people, and just life in general. So when we can bring more breath, oh my God, we're going to find some more. Yeah, we're going to find more connection within ourselves, within our bodies, and we will be more tapped in, and we will be more connected to what our bodies are actually telling us. So
I love that. I think that it's so interesting, because I feel like when I pay attention, I notice, when I'm super stressed, or if I'm getting really upset about something, 9 times out of 10, I'm like holding my breath, not breathing at all.
Oh my gosh, seriously, right? Oh my gosh, yeah. And you can even do it when you're concentrating, and one of the things I found whenever I was attracted to somebody, it was like, is that person? It was like, is there food in my teeth? And all of a sudden you go through that laundry list of, oh my God. I mean, there are so many different ways in which we can hold our breath. But the interesting thing is that the breath also holds a lot of emotion in the cells of our bodies. And so when we are able to breathe more deeply, we're able to unwind those cellular memories, whether they be good or bad. A memory is just a memory. And when we can release them, we create more space for good stuff to come in.
Would there be, a technique that you feel like someone could do on their own? Like maybe just a couple of minutes. Would that even be beneficial for people, do you feel?
Oh, God, yes. Seriously. Yes. One of the thing that I love about the transformational breath technique is that it was designed to actually be a self-care modality. And what I usually invite people to do is after we have done a breath session at my studio or in my class, I invite them to go home, find a song that you like that's more up tempo, and more of a moderate to more up tempo, and then breathe 3 to 5 minutes, along with that song, keeping the mouth open. And these full breaths with no pauses. I think that's the big key. And it's not about, and with the emphasis on the inhale, but don't even push out the exhale. And then also watching and getting a sense of what your body is doing at that moment. Because a lot of times when I work with women, we tend to breathe into our chests mostly. We don't breathe as much into our bellies for a variety of reasons. But yeah, most of which, we're either wearing high heels, which causes us to suck in, or it could be because, we want to appear thin, and being feminine means you're holding your gut in. But when seriously, right? Let that hang out. Just let it out. And what we need to do is just realign and really get settled and feel how we are breathing, and making sure that we are breathing through our entire trunks in order to make that happen. And then when that 5 minutes is up, is just allow yourself to rest and allow that work to settle, so you can be with what shows up for you for however long or little amount of time that you can.
I love that. Because a lot of times that's a good reminder. It doesn't always have to be a big, long thing. It can be 3 to 5 minutes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's a great way to wake up. It actually gets you perky. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a great way to wake up because it's energizing and it's also relaxing at the same time. So that's kind of a cool combination. Yeah.
And I know that you do offer a lot of classes locally, and also some other programs that I would love for you to chat more about in a few minutes, because I know
Sure.
there's so many great ways to be able to experience Natalie's magic in person.
Thank you. Thank you.
But I would like to tap into a little bit more about how, and how you feel like using that breath, the transformational breath, helps you listen to your body's messages more.
I think that what happens is that when you get present to your breath, you're not in your mind. You don't have the capacity to make up stories. You may be present to either, okay, this is hard, this is annoying me, which is real, but it can also be, but what I have found also, actually, let me just give you an example. When I took my first breath class, I was actually taking it to teach because I wanted to teach my clients how to breathe better, and I was having a heck of a time trying to explain it to them. So I took this breath class and found out that I was only breathing at 25 to 30% of my own lung capacity, which that kind of hurt my feelings. and then we started breathing. And then as I started breathing, all of a sudden I could just feel this rush of energy going through me. And I was tapping into inner knowing that I didn't realize was just sitting and waiting there. And I mean, it was just this whole visual of experiences that I was having. And interestingly, at the end of the session, when the facilitator invited us to share our experiences, I started talking, or I started trying to share. And then all of a sudden, I felt something in my throat. I felt my throat begin to close, and it wasn't actually closing, but I had this feeling, this feeling of my throat. And what I got present to was that in my previous relationship, I had just gotten a divorce. I didn't feel allowed to speak. I didn't feel free to speak my truth. And that was a really, really big deal. And so, yeah, and I've also tapped into, over the years, also tapped into it was actually through a breath session that I was actually able to reconcile once and for all my experience of being raped.
Yeah.
And so there's some hardcore things that can happen, but it also doesn't have to end up, it doesn't have to be that as well. It was this work at the end of that breath session. And while I was in that first breath session, what I was also clear about was, my intuition saying, girl, you need to learn this, and so I just listened. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the best choices I've ever made. Yeah. So, yeah, it just brings us more present to our inner knowing and our inner messaging.
Yeah. I think one of the first times I did the breath work, I remember, well, it's kind of like working out. I think the first few minutes, I thought I was going to die. And then I got into it more, but then I really did think I was going to die, but it was hysterical because I got this message like, well, I guess that's it. I'm going to die now. I just want to go home. I was like, I just want to go home. And then my body's response was, you are home, silly.
Ah.
Which is pretty huge.
Yeah. Holy moly.
But I think, because I feel like because of the modern world we live in and the way the pharmaceutical industry leads us to believe we need drugs for this and that, or even, but just how powerful our own breath can be and what it can do for us if we just allow it the opportunity, which, honestly, like you say, we just are busy going about our day. We are just using the 25% we need to get through, but like taking that time to really allow it to take you deeper can be so powerful.
Yeah. Oh goodness. Yeah. And I get it too. I remember when I had my first breath session and they said, you're going to be breathing for an hour. I was like, huh? Uh-oh. It was like, really? People do that? But once you start, I love how you go from actually active breathing to your breath breathing you, because you do get into this pattern where all of the sudden your body's in a plane all of its own and in a space all of its own, and it's like, okay, let's go for a ride.
Well, right, because it does activate your body's natural DMT, right? Where sometimes you can sometimes be done and feel like you are in a little bit of an altered state, but a very healthy way to get there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's another word, when we think of the word inspire, what does that mean? Inspire means, in spirit, and breathing in spirit. So that's kind of cool.
And then, so you just have so many amazing things that you do. And I also want to touch on the conscious dance for a minute too.
Because, sure.
I mean, you're just hitting on all the huge healing modalities, and I'm sure it's so powerful, everything that you do. So would you explain to me a little bit more about the conscious dance and what that is and how you use that in your work?
Right on. Yeah. Well, it's funny. I've been asked that question before, and what I realized for myself is that, you know, how it relates to everything that I do is massage was the awakening of listening to the body.
Mm.
The breath work was a deepening of that listening. And what conscious dance is the expression of what I find. And what I love about conscious dance is that it's not is it's literally free movement. It's not about learning some dance technique or some dance steps. It's about sitting back and taking a breath, hopefully, because that's always a good idea. And then also allowing yourself to just feel into how your body wants to move. And it's not about thinking about what your next best step is going to be, or your next step is going to be. And it's not even about being concerned about what that step actually looks like.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally about just allowing your body, like getting present, and like, say, if you're just standing there and then all of a sudden your arm wants to move, just allowing it to move and being curious about where it wants to go. Or if you're standing on your feet, just feeling your feet and feeling how they want to move and being curious about where they want to go. And really just allowing yourself to step into your own inner expression through music or not.
Right.
Yeah. And so that's what conscious dance is about for me. Um, I've done a lot of different movement modalities. I was raised in ballet. And then of course, like many of us, I went clubbing, because we can do that. And then, yeah, and it's fun. And then there's African dance that I studied, and I think it was through that I realized that I really am not, I love the free movement element of that, and I love taking ownership, even though there are movements that you learn, and the movements tell a story. I love I love the ability of people to create their movements for themselves through African dance. And even belly dancing, I experienced that, and that was a kick in the pants. And then I also have learned tango and nia, and now I'm studying soul motion. And so it's all of those blended into a form, which helps us to just bring ourselves closer to ourselves, and then use the music as inspiration, or the environment as inspiration, or even what your body is feeling as inspiration to, just to express yourself more fully and wholly. And so, and no previous movement experience is required, which is the best part.
That's probably helps even, right? You're not worried
Oh my
about
gosh.
doing it right or what the choreography is. And
Oh, absolutely. Actually, if you want to take a good look at what it means to be in conscious dance, go to YouTube and find a video of 2-year-olds dancing.
yes.
And they will show you how it's done. And hopefully, if you're thinking about it, you're going, well, that's kind of how I danced. And it's like, exactly, you already know this stuff. You already know how to do this. It's just a matter of allowing yourself and giving yourself permission to return to that state of play.
Yes. Thank you for that message. You
Sure.
already know this, and it's okay. You have permission to return to that state of play.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, it's because at some point in life, you probably heard, maybe you were the 2-year-old dancing and your parents said, stop dancing like that or whatever. And then you stopped doing it. But we
Oh,
all
absolutely.
are knowing how to do it. It's just giving ourselves the
Yeah.
opportunity to remember.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so funny because I hear a lot of people saying, that I like the sound of your class, but I don't know how to dance. And I was like going, yeah, you do. Yeah, you don't have to go out and learn it, because if you do go out and you try and learn something, then you come back into my class, you're going to be very disappointed because you're going to have to unlearn everything that you just learned.
Yes.
So why don't we just head it off at the pass and just come and experience yourself on a different level.
Mm-hmm. And I can say that you will not feel uncomfortable around Natalie if you're dancing and you don't feel like you don't know how to dance. That's actually the best way to go about it.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Actually, people who say they don't know how to dance are my favorite all-time people to work with, because they don't have any preconceived notions. You know, the world is open for them.
well, I love how you kind of broke it down that, that working with the massage is like the feeling of the message and the breath is the listening and the dance is the expression. That's such a
Yeah.
beautiful way to
Thank you.
explain that. So I
Well,
would love
thank
to,
you.
if you have one, if there's anything else that you want to share, or one last message you may like everyone listening today to hear. And again, I apologize if with the issues with the live. So if you have questions, please make sure you post them underneath and we will get back and answer them at some point soon. So just know if we're not able to answer them, because I can't see them right now. I was trying to check, but that I will promise we will answer them. So please ask away. But yes, if there's anything else that you'd like to share.
I think ultimately what's the most important thing to me is that people recognize that it's really important, and you have permission to really tap in and to show up in a way that feels most authentic to you. I think, and especially, not to get political, but we hear all of these messages about who you are supposed to be and how you are supposed to be. And I see a lot of people trying to shove themselves into this box of who they're supposed to be, and living with a mask.
Yeah.
And what I have to say to that is that what you bring to the table and who you are is very much needed. And so give yourself permission to explore that, deepen into that, and be an expression of that. And find ways in which find ways that can really support your evolution and your self-discovery, because we want what you got.
Yes.
Yeah.
What you got, I love it.
So so that would be my take. We all have gifts and we all have important things to share, and so give yourself permission to either continue on that path of discovering what they are, or to dive in and know that, yeah, the water's warm, you'll be all right.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
And please share where everybody can find you. And if you have
Oh,
anything
goodness.
you want to talk about.
Oh, gosh. Well, you can find me at my physical location is my studio, which is 1175 South Pennsylvania Street here in Denver. That's in the West Wash Park neighborhood, between Bucktail and Arizona. You can also check out my website, www.nataliegentry.com. You can email me at nataliegentry.com. And I'm also on Facebook as well, Natalie Gentry's Healing Page. And if you would like to call me as well, my phone number is 303-325-4150.
Beautiful. Thank you.
So
And
thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll make sure to post all that underneath so you can easily find that info. And do you still do you do your movement classes at your studio, or do you do those still with iBody?
Yes. Lucky me, iBody is right next door to my studio. So, I mean, I could barrel roll there. So I do offer monthly classes. And in fact, actually, thank you for asking that. My next class is going to be December 15th.
Okay.
from 6:30 to 7:45. And yeah, we're going to be, and the focus of that class is going to be pause and get present.
Mm.
And so, yeah, so I've already begun to work on the sound list because I'm that excited about it. But also, come next year, I'm looking to also add some additional classes. So yeah, you can find out about my classes both on Facebook and then also on my website as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time and all your wisdom. It's been such a pleasure to talk with you today.
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. It's so good to see you. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share.
Of course, thank you. And everyone watching, thank you so much. I know there's a couple, but Tiffany, Amy, hello. So yeah, thank you so much, and post your questions and I will get them to Natalie or myself and we will answer them and get back to you soon. And everyone, thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. And
Thank you.
see you soon.